Before we open case studies, let us rebuild the previous two sessions in 3 minutes. Because this class only works if we remember what 13 years have already revealed. In part 1, we asked one question: what is UPSC actually evaluating in ethics? And one pattern became difficult to ignore. Ethics did not become harder, situations become harder. We saw the evolution from ethical vocabulary to ethical judgment to governance complexity to ethical decision making under public responsibility. We then opened the PYQ architecture and we discussed the PYQ architecture in detail, not chapters, families, because questions do not appear randomly. They appeared in the clusters. Some stayed stable and some expanded. Some moved strongly toward governance. Then, after we discussed command words, and one insight became visible. Many students prepare topic difficulty, but very few prepare directive difficulty. Those are understand, discuss, evaluate, justify, suggest, different verbs, different thinking, and different answers. Then we opened answer evaluation, discussed answer evaluation. In the old model, we written like this: definition, then example, and conclusion. But new model, we are going to write this type of answer: ethical principle, then stakeholders, then conflict, and then resolution, and finally administrative outcome. This should be the new model of answer writing structure as far as GS4 mains ethics theory is concerned. Because modern ethics increasingly rewards not ethical vocabulary but context aware judgment. What is modern ethics increasingly awards? Context aware judgment. Context aware judgment. In part 2, we moved from understanding to execution. We discussed thinkers not as biographies but as principle extraction. Then we opened ethical dimensions from individual to institution to society to institution, from individual to institution, state, and global. Then preparation priorities. Then the answer mission. What is the answer mission? In the question, then directive, then ethical core, then stakeholders, then conflict, then resolution, then finally administrative outcome. When you see the question, you are going to observe, identify first directive word, then ethical core, then identify stakeholders, then what is the conflict tension issue between the stakeholders or among the stakeholders, then what should be the resolution, and what should be the final administrative outcome you have to be written in your answer. And that answer machine brought us to the final observation, that is GS4 is not asking, do you know values? Increasingly, it asks, can values survive complexity? But there is still one final test left behind us after these part twos. That is because values become easy when nothing is at stake. Case studies change that. So they introduce pressure, incomplete information, incomplete information, competing duties, real consequences. And suddenly, values are no longer concepts, they become choices. And this is where everything comes together. So, because case studies where base are where ethics stops being understood. and starts being executed. When the ideal situation, values are remain constant, but when in the pressure, competitive authority, competitive sequences, real administrative issues, case studies change that. They introduce pressure, incomplete information, competing duties. Then what should be the decision of pragmatic approach should be, we are going to discuss. So let us begin. That is GS4 case study, structural autopsy from 2013 to 2025. Till now we discussed this so far part 2, part 1, that is belongs to the theory. So what is the thing we are going to do is understanding how UPSC evaluates ethical decision making. So most students think case studies are the easiest part of ethics. They are going to read, write stakeholders, give options, conclude, then done. They feel like this. But after opening 13 years of UPSC case studies, previous years 2013 to 2025, we reached a different conclusion. What is that conclusion? Case studies are not stories, they're simulations. Every year, UPSC creates a situation where values collide, pressure increases, information become incomplete, and every available option carries a cost. So students usually think UPSC asks, what should I do? Increasingly, UPSC seems to ask, how do you think before acting? They are not directly asking, what should I do? They are asking, how do you think before acting? That difference changes preparation. So, today we open that architecture. What is that architecture? How case studies evolved year by year. So, the recurring families behind them, the decision engine, and finally, what UPSC actually rewards, we are going to discuss in this session very much clearly, comprehensively. So, let us begin the layer number one, that is evolution of case studies. What is the evolution of case studies? When observed across years, a broad movement becomes visible. What is the broad movement? From 2013 to 2015, in this era, individual ethical judgment has happened. These questions belongs to individual ethical judgment. The question should be like this: can you distinguish right from wrong? Questions are simple and direct. What is the expected answer? Identity, then act, then justify. This was the answer writing structure expected from UPSC. So evolution of case studies from 2013 to 2025, we are going to discuss in this session very much clearly. So in the first era, that is 2013 to 2015, the era is called as individual ethical judgment. In this era, they asked simply distinguish right from wrong. That's it. They don't want to struggle you, they don't want to interpret you. Just they expected identify, then act, then justify. That's it. They're asking only, they're asking and they're expecting from students this much only. Then moving to 2016 to 2019, this called as conflict and accountability. Question should be like, question now like this. Questions were like this. Can you remain ethical under pressure? Can you remain ethical under pressure? These type of questions asked in 2016 to 2019. What is the expected stakeholders? What is the expected case study answer like this? You have to write stakeholders, then options, then consequences. This much only they expected from students from 2016 to 2019 as far as case studies writing is concerned. So this 2016 and 2019 stage is called as conflict and accountability stage. Then we are moving to 2020 and 2023. This is the system called governance and systems. The system has changed dramatically from this phase. The questions are asking like this: can you solve public problems instead of judging people? This type of questions have been increased from 2020. The answer should be expected from like this: immediate resolution and institutional correction. So that much only have start from 2020. This phase is introduction of governance and the system rapidly. Then we are moving to the final system, that is 2024 and 2025. At this stage we are belongs to at this point of time. So what is this stage is called as multi-constraint public decision making. This is called as multi-constraint public decision making era. The question should be like this here: can you govern under uncertainty? The answer should be balance competing legitimate values rather than many things. So observe the moment. Ethics did not become harder. Situations became harder. UPSC giving the situations one by one, increasing the level of the situations become harder. So this is the situation from 2013 to 2025 as far as UPSC GS for case studies is concerned. From individual ethical judgment, then conflict and accountability, then governance systems, and finally reached multi-constraint decision making under pressure. So this is the evolution of case studies from 2013 to 2025. Can you distinguish right from wrong to can you govern under uncertainty? This is the change we expect. This is the change we are observing from 2013 to 2025 case studies is concerned. So this is all about layer one. This is called diagnosis part. Then we are moving to layer two, that is the 8 case families. What is the case families? We are discussing this in this session very elaborately. After opening the cases, we did not see randomness. What is the randomness? And what you see and what are you going to see? I see repeatable families. Families. What is the families? Case study families. Those are 8 case families. So we are moving to one by one. Family number one, that is conflict of interest. What is the conflict of interest to family? What type of questions are asking under this family? We are going to discuss. So conflict of interest to family, the pattern of the questions, the pattern of the case like this: personal benefit to public duty or public duty to personal benefit. This is the conflict of interest type of questions they are asked in UPSC. What is the winning move here? Create a transparency, protect the process. That should be the winning move. So, what is the trap here UPSC put for us? That is personal honesty without institutional safeguards. Personal honesty without institutional safeguards. Personal honesty is the need of the hour, but institutional safeguards is 100% safe of need of the hour. Rather than personal honesty without institutional safeguards will not win-win situation. So personal honesty is the need of the hour, as well as institutional safeguards also need of the hour. So be very careful when the trap here like this: personal honesty without institutional safeguards. That is not correct. Personal honesty is the need of the hour, as well as institutional safeguards also need of the hour. As far as family one conflict of interest is concerned, the questions like this: personal benefit versus public duty versus personal benefit. This is the conflict of interest type of questions case studies belongs to the family number one. Then we are moving to family number two, that is compassion versus rules. what is the compassion, what is the rules. In this pattern, asking like this: human suffering to procedure, procedure to human suffering. This type of questions belongs to family number 2. What should be the winning move, what should be the balanced outcome we are going to do, that is human legit, human legality. Human legality, what is the human legality? The lawful route to the kind act, that is human legality, rather than rules or compassion. UPSC trap like this: breaking rules emotionally, breaking rules emotionally. Notice something very clear: UPSC is rarely rewarding instinct. It increasingly reward the process, because process is going to administrative outcome. It leads to a result and administrative outcome. So that is why process is most important rather than instinct. So when you faced with compassion versus rules, you are going to take middle path, that is human legality, that is lawful route to the kind act. What you have to do, that is thing. So we are moving to family number 3, that is public interest versus career risk. What is the public interest and what is the career risk, and what is the pattern here when come across with truth or punishment? Truth to punishment, punishment to truth. After addressing the pattern, after identifying the pattern, what should be the winning move here is escalate institutionally, document decisions, escalate institutionally, and document decisions is correct way to address this public interest versus career risk. No need to heroic individualism, no need to take that type of things, heroic individualism, etc., etc. You have to escalate institutionally, you have to create document decisions. That is the process you are going to, that is the process is going to save you when comes to public interest versus career risk. So we are moving to family number 4, that is development versus sustainability. This is most important and most recurring family as far as case studies is concerned. That is development versus sustainability. So what is the pattern here? Growth to long-term impact, long-term impact to growth. When comes to this development and sustainability, we are going to take the middle path, that is balanced transition. Transition is need of the hour, but with balanced transition. Here, no need of false binary thinking. Balanced transition is only saves you in the development versus sustainability family. Then we are going to family number 5, that is technology ethics. This is most important thing in nowadays. This is recurring theme asking UPSC by 2024 and 2025. What should be the pattern here? Should be the pattern here is capability to responsibility, responsibility to capability. What should be the winning move here is innovation with accountability built in, rather than without accountability. Innovation may create problems. So that is the thing, that is why innovation with accountability is need of the hour. This is going to be discussed in this family number 5. So what is the trap UPSC given for you is assuming technology is neutral. Assuming technology is neutral. We started with individuals, now we are entering the systems. So don't assume technology is neutral, because sometimes it will create bias also. That is why the innovation with accountability built in as the need of the hour, and as compulsory need of the hour at this point of time. Because in the era of artificial intelligence, Then we are moving to family number 6, that is vulnerable stakeholder protection. What is the vulnerable stakeholder protection? Power to dignity, dignity to power. In this situation, we are going to protect agency. We are going to protect their agency, not just their welfare. Should be the balanced. Protect their agency, not just their welfare. Both has to be protected. UPSC giving like this type of paternalism or savior tone, etc., etc. But it is not. It is only a trap. That is not correct. So we are moving to family number 7, that is leadership under crisis. What type of questions belongs to this family? Urgency to ethics, ethics to urgency types of questions. When these questions, when this case study, what should be the ultimate winning move is act quickly. Remain accountable. You have to act quickly and stay accountable. That is the main thing you have to do as far as leadership under crisis. UPSC trap you like emergency, exceptionalism, etc., etc. That is not correct. When you comes to the leadership under crisis, you have to act quickly as well as remain accountable. And final and family is 8, that is institutional ethics. When comes to institutional ethics, repair systems, not individuals. Repair systems pattern to not individuals. Institutional redesign is the winning move. So trap should be like this, moralizing, etc. But moralizing about the guilt is not a correct thing as far as institutional ethics, as far as institutional redesign. So most case studies are variation of these 8. So recognition reduces complexity. That is why we are discussing these type of families so far. Conflict of interest, compassion versus rules, public interest versus career risk, development versus sustainability, technology ethics, vulnerable stakeholders protection, leadership under crisis, institutional ethics. You are please remember these 8 families as far as case studies is concerned. When you recognize these families, your complexity will automatically reduce. So that is why you are going to remember these type of families. So we are moving to layer number 3, that is decision engine. What is the decision engine? Now how strong answers think like this? Decision engine means when you come across with the case study, after reading the case study, what you have to write an answer, and why, and what is the way you have to think for strong answer. That is case, then stakeholders, then conflict, then options, then decision, then institutional reform, then finally public outcome. This is the pattern you have to follow as far as this is concerned. So, but one rule, do not jump from values to action. But you have to remember one rule, do not jump from values to action. Before selecting any option, you have to pass 3 filters. What are they? Legal, ethical, feasible, then decision. After pass, after possible after pass these 3 filters, legal, ethical, and feasible, then you are able to take decision. Filter number 1 we are going to discuss here, legal validity. What is the legal validity? Can this survive law? Can this survive law or not? Comes to ethical defensibility. Can this survive public trust or not? And comes to administrative feasibility. Can this actually happen? Is it possible to happen or not? Then after these three filters, after passing of these three filters only you are able to take a decision. UPSC does not reward impossible idealism. It rewards ethical public action. One more distinction: immediate decision solve the system. Immediate decision solves the symptom. Institutional reform solves the disease. Strong answers usually contain both immediate decision as well as institutional reform. At this point, the question becomes like this: does this actually work? Does this actually work or not? And I am repeating again how strong answer things like this: case, case study, then stakeholder, then conflict, then options, then decision, then reform, then administrative outcome. When you are going to write an case study, before write an case study, you are able to make good decision. You are going to pass three filters: legal, ethical, feasible. Comes to legal part: can this survive the law? Can this survive public trust? Can this actually happen? After passing of these three filters, then only you are able to take decision. You make call for a decision. You are going to remember this thing very much carefully. Immediate decision solves the system. Immediate decision solves the symptom. Institutional reform solves the disease. Strong answers carry both immediate decision as well as institutional reform also. So after understanding the how strong answers thinking is, what is the next step you are going to do is, question becomes, does this actually work? Instead of solving full answers, let us test this engine. For that, we are going to take two live two live case studies for your understanding purpose. We are going to learn and discuss two case studies which were asked in 2025 previous year questions. What is the case study here is MGNREGA mismanagement case. Why this case we are taking? Because it perfectly demonstrates family 8 institutional ethics plus family 1 conflict of interest plus systems governance. So that is why we taken this type of case, that is MGNREGA mismanagement case. This case validates your line, that is fixed systems not individuals. Fixed systems not individuals. So comes to this part: case, then stakeholders, then conflict, then decision, then institutional reform. This should be the pattern. This should be the case study answer writing pattern. Let me repeat again: case, then stakeholders, then conflict, then decision, then institutional reform. This is the first question. Not ask who is guilty. Please don't ask at the first question. Do not ask who is guilty. But what you have to ask is, What failed? What failed? What failed? This is the case. Then comes to the stakeholders. As far as this is concerned, stakeholders are workers, gram panchayat, district administration, taxpayers, and future beneficiaries. These are the stakeholders. When you write an case study, after identifying that, what is the stakeholders you are going to write? Because this is the important thing. So you have to write, identify the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Workers working, then gram panchayat, then district administration, then taxpayers, then future beneficiaries. Then what is the stakeholders? What is the pattern after the stakeholders? That is conflict. Conflict between two players. Who are the players? That is administration and public. So for GS4 concern, administrative continuity versus public accountability. Public accountability and administrative continuity. This is the conflict. Then what you have to do comes to the options. Option number one, suspend everyone immediately. This is the option number one. When we write the answer, when we take an option, we are going to think 360-degree angle. The problem also, after the suspension, what is the problem also we are going to discuss. If suspend everyone immediately, the problem is high optics, weak governance. This is regarding option 1. Then option 2, ignore past, continue. If ignore past and continue, normalizes the corruption. Ignore past and continue, problem is normalizes the corruption. That should not be happen. So option 3, dual track approach. What is the dual track approach? Immediate accountability, system redesign. Then what you have to do is apply the filter we discussed earlier. What is the filter? Legal. What is the legal item here is audit, investigation, recovery. Then ethical, protect genuine workers, feasible, continue works while correcting. Continue works while correcting. After applying these filters, if pass, what is the decision? Freeze suspicious approvals, physical verification, independent social audit, direct transfer correction, fix responsibility, that is responsibility fixing, continue genuine wage payments, that is keep paying genuine workers. This is the immediate decision you are going to make as far as this MGNREGA is concerned. This is the symptom, we take immediate decision. Then disease, institutional reform. Institutional reform is what? Geotagging of workers, geotagging of works, digital muster rolls, third party audit, transparent dashboards, and random inspections. This is the institutional reform. This should be the disease control. That is the symptom control. This is the disease control. So please notice one thing very much clear. Strong answer is did not stop at punishment. It rebuilt trust. That is institutional ethics. So you don't have to stop at punishment level. It rebuilt the trust also. That is institutional ethics. This is all about MGNREGA case. In this case, what we did so far is what we did. First of all, we discuss about case, then identify stakeholders, then after uh, we go through the options, and after the options we pass three legal, ethical, and feasible actors. Then after the past three filters, we taken the decision symptoms regarding immediate decision. This is related to institutional reforms. After these completing the decision, this is the case study you have to approach like this. So after this completion of case study number one, we are moving to case study number two, that is dormant account medical emergency. Dormant account medical emergency. This is relating to bank manager case. What is the case? First of all, after regarding this, after reading the case study, what you have to do is case. What is the case? Bank manager case. Why this case? Because this is the cleanest demonstration of family two, that is compassion versus rules. So that is why we take in this case. This validates good intention is not enough. Institutional safeguards also need of the hour. So after the case, what you have to do is stakeholders, then conflict, then filters, then decision, then reform. This is the answer pattern or case structure. So who are the stakeholders here? Patient, employee, bank, dormant account owner, and public trust. These are the stakeholders. Then what is the conflict here? Save life versus financial integrity. Save life versus financial integrity. What should be the options? Option number one, support manager emotionally. When you support manager emotionally, what will happen? Compassion cannot override trust. Compassion cannot override trust. So we are moving to option number two, that is condemned manager absolutely. When you condemn the manager absolutely, the problem will like this, ignores human reality. So this is also not possible. Then option number three, that is recognize moral intent, reject procedural breach. So for this you are going to apply the filter: legal, no; ethical, intent ethically understandable; method ethically problematic. So reject procedural breach is method ethically problematic. So feasible comes to feasible, dangerous precedent. So what should be the decision here is emergency support channels, medical crowdfunding, employee relief, and a legal recovery process is going to be due in this particular case. So report procedural breach separately. You have to do that also. So institutional reforms purpose, emergency welfare fund, employee medical support, financial distress protocol you have to do. So come to the decision part, you have to recognize the moral intent, reject the procedural breach, root relief through emergency funds or crowdfunding or lawful recovery, report the breach separately. So you have to do all things, but immediate thing is relief through emergency funds, crowdfunding, and lawful recovery. Comes to the reform part, an emergency welfare fund, an employee medical support scheme, and financial distress protocol you have to make. So compassion never has to be break the law again. So public ethics requires both the right intention and a lawful mechanism. That is the human legality. That is the need of the high here. So you have to notice something very clear. The manager's intention was ethical. but the mechanism was not. Public ethics has to be requires both, as well as intention as well as mechanism also. That is human legality. So here we discussed so far two completely different cases. One is government governance failure, one is human dilemma. Same decision engine. That means UPSC is not testing memory here. It is testing judgment here. That is you have to understand. Then we are moving to layer number 4, that is the biggest discovery. What is the biggest discovery? This was the biggest observation. What is the biggest observation? Then the old question asked like this: are you honest? This type of questions they have been asked. But new question: can you preserve law? Can you preserve legitimacy? Can you preserve trust? Can you preserve welfare? Can you preserve sustainability and outcomes simultaneously? That is the modern GS4. The, the questions have been changed from are you honest to can you preserve these type of law, legitimacy, trust, welfare, sustainability outcomes simultaneously. That type of change happened in GS4 from 2013 to 2025. So UPSC increasingly rewards ethical judgment rather than you are honest or not. The ethical judgment is also under public constraints. So while you are writing the answer, you are going to understand good intention is not enough. Legally valid, ethically defensible, and administratively feasible, institutionally sustainable, and publicly legitimate answer is need of the hour. So public ethics is not completed when the decision is taken. It is completed when the decision remains trusted. So strong answer should be like this: legally valid, ethically defensible, administratively feasible, institutionally sustainable. Though that is leads to publicly legitimate. So public ethics is not complete when the decision is taken. It is complete when the decision remains trusted only. So weak answer comes to good intention and nothing that survives scrutiny. So case studies are not asking what would an ideal person do. That never happens because the administrative system is designing like that only. They are asking what would a responsible public decision maker do. That is the shift hidden inside GS4. So you have to prepare ethics not as a memorized morality but as ethical decision making under public responsibility. So this is the way you have to prepare for case studies GS4 section. With this, we are completed part 1 and part 2 theory class and this part 3, that is case study structure. Thank you. I will see you in the next structural autopsy, that is SCA structural autopsy. Thank you.